Hi,
Hey,
Sheila.
it's Erin. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It was nice and chilly. It was almost Minnesota chilly here this morning.
Oh, but not quite though. Was it
No,
75 there? That's not Minnesota chilly. Not in October.
it was
No.
57 this morning.
It was 48 here. So, and it's not in Minnesota, but it was still colder than Florida.
Oh,
Yay.
yeah, they were talking about, oh, we have a cold front. I'm like, where?
I do not miss that about Florida for sure.
That's true. But
That
I
is
don't miss the
not.
snow from where you are, so I guess it's a trade-off.
I guess it is. Yes. My children are very anxious for the snow. They were talking about it this morning on the way to school, and I said it's going to be a little bit, so just calm down.
And you
Slow
got that
your
nice
roll.
hill in the front that can sled right into the intersection.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'm not. No. We are going to have to research where we can go sled safely when it does snow because that's not going to happen as much as they want it to.
Wait, I used to know this. I think it's Fairfax County Golf. I'll send you the link when I get off.
Okay.
But they're building a ski slope in Lorton.
I don't think I knew that. Huh.
If you get on to where the old Lorton prison was, I know they're making it into like a work center and art, but where the dump was, they repurposed that land and now they're putting a 1,000-foot long ski slope indoors that will be open every day of the year.
Oh, well, that's not my cup of tea either, but
You
good
can
for
do
them.
snowboarding.
I did snowboarding in college. I took a snowboarding class in
Oh,
college. Yeah, it was awesome. It was really fun.
so
But
you can go snowboarding in the middle of the summer in Virginia.
I would die. I would just fall and break all my bones in my body, and we would just be done. Yeah.
Well, at least you could go get cold.
Yes, I just want it to be cold, and I want it to be where I can cuddle with my blankets all day today, like I did earlier today. It was great.
And you got that cute little puppy can sit on your lap and cuddle too.
He is not a lap dog, not at all. No. Mm-mm.
Poor thing.
No.
Well, we have a great guest on our show today.
We do, yes. Anna's not here tonight. She had a work thing, and our sometimes Melinda is not feeling well.
Oh,
So
no, poor thing.
you get me, the
That's
pinch
okay.
hitter. Yes, I can fake it, right? I think we'll find out. We will find out.
You have 4 boys, so you're pretty good at herding cats. So this should be an easy interview for you.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. I am going to go and put our links though into the comments so that you guys can like, follow, and share us.
Excellent.
Um,
And
so-
our guest tonight is one of the first people we ever heard running for Senate in the state of Florida against our least favorite senator. What's his name? Oh yeah, Little Marco is the one we don't really care for.
I mean, that list is getting pretty long, don't you think?
Yeah, true. I don't think I like either one of the ones that are in the Senate right now, but that's okay.
Or just generally speaking, like
Yeah, I
any
know.
of them in the
I know.
country.
I'm having a pretty hard time right now.
Exactly.
But yeah, we're excited. He was on, I think he was on right at the beginning of his campaign or pretty close to the beginning of his campaign. And we get to check in with him now and see what he's up to and see how the campaign's going and how he's hanging out with the military folks.
Well, that's what I'm going to ask him for sure.
I know.
Yes. So he might. We did not have a chance to go over what we should and should not ask him. So hopefully,
we'll behave.
Hopefully, we're okay. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll behave.
We might just be a little, I feel like stirring up some trouble, maybe.
Oh, I have news.
Ooh, what's that?
I texted Mike Beltran and he said if we could get him on the schedule, he'd come on the show.
All right.
And I have his text right here.
All right. We need to put that out on our page so that we can, tag him in it and get him on our show. Like, come on, dude, we're good. We want to have him on our show to talk about the things that he's doing and how it's affecting his people, his district.
Well, and he's also on the redistricting committee, and it would be nice to know what they're doing up in Tallahassee behind closed doors.
Yeah. He's probably not going to share that, though, don't you think?
No.
But let's keep that a little bit of a secret.
Well, it'll be interesting to see where we get our new seats. The logical place would be to put it between Tampa and Orlando, but the illogical choices are combining 2 Democratic districts into one and then making 3 Republican districts.
Oh.
And they would be kind of like, the little snaky things. And meanwhile, the 2 Democratic districts would be just like this. Yeah.
That's a pretty appropriate term you just used to describe that.
Snaky.
Snaky, yes. When are they supposed to have all of that done? Do you know? Because I keep loose tabs on a lot of stuff, and that's one of those.
I think they're supposed to introduce legislation in January when they start. So they've already got the bill ready to go.
Right.
And what I found interesting, what they did the last time was they had hired people to go to these public meetings and put forward plans, redistricting plans that the GOP had written up and given them to people to go ahead and submit as their own. So they got sued. They got found out. They got sued. So it's supposed to be better this time, but I really have no hope.
Right. I mean, why not?
I know.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. And considering our congressional district goes from the Gulf of Mexico almost to Lake Okeechobee, I don't know how they're going to fix that one.
I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I
know, you know me, I'm not that patient.
What?
I'm
shocked.
I know. I think Melinda and I are going to have to go up and do a little road trip. We're going to do a road trip to Mike Beltran's office. That's for sure.
Yes. I think, weren't you guys talking about going up to Tallahassee with someone else too?
Yes. When they're in session, so that we can go hang out with them.
Right. Well, there you go. You can get ready for that because that's January, you said, right?
Starts the 11th. They're actually having committee hearings now. People are going up to Tally now.
So why? I thought you guys said you were going to go up in January. Was I?
Florida has a really weird sense of how they do things. So there's what I was told is that there's a coffee shop in Tallahassee where a bunch of lawyers hang out. And if you want a bill written, you go over to the coffee shop, sit down with a bunch of lawyers, say, here's my idea. You go away, you come back. Here's the bill that they've drafted. And then you take it and introduce it. The irony is that members of the House can only introduce, I think, 6 bills a year. Unlike Congress, unlike the U.S., the state limits each person to 6 bills. So they really have to be kind of hopeful as to what they introduce.
Sure, yeah.
And so even if you co-introduce a bill with somebody, I think that counts towards your 6.
That's interesting. And that's different from other states?
Yeah. Other states, it's, a free-for-all. They can do whatever they want.
Huh. Why does Florida limit that then? I mean, I can guess why I might think they do, but...
Starts with a P, ends in ER, and has ow in the middle.
Power. There you go. For sure, yeah. No, that makes sense. That tracks, actually. Yeah, Florida.
Yep. Yeah. So we already have a Texas abortion bill that's going to be dropped the first day of session by a woman who is from the Orlando area, a Republican woman, who is supporting this because she thinks, everybody's sacred and everybody's perfect. And and it looks like it's going to be stricter than Texas.
How is that even possible?
I mean, I don't know.
That is ridiculous. That is so ridiculous. And I see that a federal judge upheld it now in Texas. Like there was some wobbling on it, whether or not it could be.
It was upheld, then it was not. Now Biden's having the DOJ send a brief to the Supreme Court to say, suspend it until you can hear it. But they're not going to do that because they're hearing.
Logical. I mean, I know
they're not going to do that because Mississippi has a bill that I think is worse than Texas that will be heard on December. Hold on, I'll tell you. December 2nd on the Supreme Court. Yeah, December 2nd. They're going to hear the Mississippi bill.
If Mississippi's is worse than Texas, is Florida's worse than Mississippi then?
Yes. So basically it
How
says
is that even possible?
if you're a woman and you have relations with a man, whether it's your choice or not, and you get pregnant because you are not allowed to have birth control or even discuss it with your physician, then you are required to carry that pregnancy to term. And then you are not allowed to sue for child support. The person who got you pregnant can say, well, I want joint custody, or it's basically, how did somebody describe it to me the other day? That the woman is just a box and they just pull out these little kids and that's that.
Right.
Yeah.
That is, oh my gosh. I have no words for that. How angry that makes me right now.
Well, between that and new regulations with Medicaid or Medicare, Medicaid saying, you're not covered after you give birth. Florida, thank God, last year passed a bill that said if you are pregnant and you have a baby and you're on Medicaid, we'll cover you for a year, because that covers the first 6 weeks appointment. It used to be it covered you for 2 weeks. And if you've ever had a kid, you know that after 2 weeks, you still haven't had your checkup yet. And, whatever.
Right.
So it's pretty entertaining. Yeah, I keep reading this and I'm like, who taught you biology in school? Oh, wait, you didn't take it.
Right.
Who taught you critical thinking? Wait, you banned that from the school system.
Yeah.
I know. But I love the fact that Tucker Carlson on national TV or whatever that station is he works for said that he was appalled that Pete Buttigieg took 6 weeks of parental leave.
That. Yeah,
he said, what does he think he's doing? Learning how to breastfeed?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I saw that too. And I think, Pete had a really good response to it. I can't remember what it was, but it was spot on.
It was pretty funny.
That is so stupid. When I had my kids, my husband didn't take parental leave because it was, the military is weird like that, but they did allow him 3 weeks when we had our first. He was supposed to be overseas. He came back, fortunately, right around the due date. I had our first son, and then he was able to stay for 3 weeks, but then he had to go back to, wherever he was, Japan or Philippines or wherever, for the first 6 months of my son's life.
Oh.
And yeah, so don't get me started on how all of that stuff. I think we should ask our guest, though, what he thinks about all that stuff, because we had him on before and he talked about who he is and how he decided to start running. And so now I feel like we've got some follow-up questions.
Yes, we do.
He talked about in that episode. And I have some questions that I want to ask him based on what I've seen on his website. So there we go.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Good. You're looking awfully presidential.
Well, thank you.
It is. It's very, very sharp.
Senatorial.
Yes.
It's good to be back with you again.
Oh, Alan, we are so excited you're back. How is your campaign going?
We're growing strong. Our movement is stronger as it has been. We are still bringing on more and more volunteers across the country. People are really excited about getting rid of Marco Rubio. And so, right now we have about 23 candidates or 22 candidates outside of myself that's running on the Democratic ticket. So things have gotten very exciting since the last time that we've spoken.
Well, you're a name that's been at the top of the heap, which is a good thing. You've got some competition, that's for sure. But I think you've been out there doing it longer than anybody else.
Yeah.
How's your fundraising?
We can always be doing stronger than we're doing. So many candidates jumping into the race, so many high-powered candidates. It's been a little tough, but the thing is that this was always going to be a tough race. So what we spend a lot of our time doing is community activism, community engagement, outreach, and just being the most responsive team running for the United States Senate. So, we're doing our best to help as many people as we can, answer as many questions as we can, hold as many town halls as we can, and do these types of interviews where people are, because, across this state and across this country, we have so many people that feel left out of the process. So that's why I'm running, so that we can have people connect with policy and how policy directly impacts their lives.
Yeah, I saw that you did a civics, and I haven't watched it. I just saw it in my research for this episode, but I'm going to go definitely and watch it now, because we took civics. I took it when I was in 7th or 8th grade, but that was a long time ago. And so sometimes it's helpful to have those kinds of refreshers for the process. And it is very overwhelming, I think, when you look at just the whole grand scheme of it. And so I really like that you are kind of bringing it back down to just a regular person's level, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, it's absolutely necessary, especially, with me being a political scientist. I went to school for this. When I graduated in 2007, I was the only political science major to graduate out of 3,000 graduates. Everybody decided to go into the business arena, nursing, teaching, but I was the only political science major at the time. And what I learned is that a lot of people don't have a firm grasp of how government works and how it really should work. And so a lot of times people are getting their political speaking chops from Fox News, CNN, and things of that nature. And it's not a way to learn government. I oftentimes have people make statements to me, like on Twitter. They might be like, why are you going to split the vote? We need to beat Marco Rubio. And I'm like, we have a such thing called a primary. And there's no way that I can split the vote. But it's just little things like that. Like, some people don't know the difference between a state senator versus a U.S. senator. So I just want to, make sure that people are being educated about the political process, how government works, and how they can be a part of the political process. And really, more than anything, how policy directly impacts their lives.
Yes, that's very important. We have a quote that we put on our page a couple weeks ago, that the lack of talking about politics leads to misunderstanding and of learning and understanding politics, basically. And that's really what it is. It gets, and I think for me, at least, sometimes, like, I didn't get involved in politics until the year of the 2016 election, because none of it really, I don't know. I was busy, I have kids, all this stuff. I voted, but generally speaking, I was just kind of like, okay, guy's doing a good job. And there was no way that what's his name was going to win. Like, I was following the polls. Thanks a lot, 538. And I thought, for sure. I'm like, oh, I went to bed that night because we were overseas at the time. And I'm like, oh, I woke up that morning and I was like, oh, it's gonna be so great to have a female president. And I went into the kitchen and my husband was in there and he was so mad. I was like, what happened? And of course, and so it was just one of those things where I'm like, oh, now I got to get involved. I got to, but all of it is sometimes super overwhelming, especially with what they're working on right now in Congress with the Build Back Better and the infrastructure stuff. And even like all of it, even that, some of that affects me personally, because the military budget, my husband's paycheck is involved in that. And so if they don't pass their stuff by a certain date, then that affects our livelihood. Like, I have kids, they have, we have things, we have,
food,
we live, food. Yeah. I mean, basic things that if they don't pass that by, their due dates, then we have to go to plan B, which is, fortunately we haven't had to do it, but there's that level of stress that I'm like, oh, so now I have to figure out, I have to keep track of that stuff and watch and try to understand, but it can be super overwhelming too, because I don't have a degree in political science like you do.
Well, the thing is, even with my degree, there are 55,000 different laws which are connected to 55,000 issues, which are literally millions of people in different. And so that is why it is so important for leaders who are in the House, in the Senate, and candidates who are running for those positions to engage with the people as much as they can, because, if, and I feel like this, if you don't know who I am, if you don't know what keeps me up at night, and if you don't care, then how are you going to represent my interests? How are you going to write policy that's going to have a positive direct impact on my life? And so for me, the reason that I engage as much as I do, the reason that I hold monthly town halls, weekly public discussions is twofold. It's one, to educate, because campaigning is educating, but it also gives me the opportunity to learn, to see what is on the hearts and the minds of the people, so that whenever I am in the United States Congress, then I can take that information and be able to work on policy that can bring positive impact to those people.
Well, and I also look forward to seeing you on Twitter and not sending a Bible quote every hour that has nothing to do with anything that happened.
Well, you know, the gentleman who currently holds the spot has held the spot for 11 years, and 11 years has missed more work than pretty much every other senator there. The thing is, how many of you that are watching this this broadcast can miss 60% of work and still keep your job? I think most people would get fired, and I think that's why we need to retire Marco Rubio.
Definitely. I think you're absolutely right.
Yep, absolutely. So I have a couple questions for you. My first one, so in the last episode we had you on, we talked, Anna and Sheila asked you about the Democratic Party and if they knew who you were. And you mentioned that there was a campaign to get them to at least follow you on Twitter. So I'm just curious, are there any updates to that particular topic, I guess?
Well, you're talking about FDP. So FDP still not following me on Twitter.
Oh, that's disappointing. How hard is it to follow? Just click the follow button, you know?
Apparently I can't do that.
You know, at the end of the day, it's like this. When I jump into this race, I jump into this race because the people needed a leader who would acknowledge, listen to, and be about bringing change for them. And so political institutions are good whenever they are doing what they need to be able to do. But I don't sit back and I don't wait for anyone to motivate me and to push me to do anything. I am self-motivated, and I am pushed by this one concept, and that is the fact that my gift in this world, the thing that defines who I am, is that I am a helper. My gift is helping people. And if you follow my social media, you will see very often that I use my platform to help people, whether it's to connect them with opportunities, whether it's to help find them resources to better their lives. This is what I do every day in my personal life. And so running for office for me is really a way to maximize my gift of helping other people. And so I don't spend a whole lot of time worried about whether or not someone is supporting me, because I have a job to do, and that's helping people. I mean, that's my purpose in this life.
Well said.
I will tell you that if you go onto the FDP page, they only have 131 followers.
I mean, I have thoughts about that, but no, it's not fine. Like, what's the point if if you're not getting out there and following other people to get their opinions and get their perspectives? You don't have to agree with them, but you need to be open-minded and listen, at least listen to someone else's perspective. Again, you don't have to agree with it, but you can at least hear what they have to say. At bare minimum, you can just listen.
Well, we like you. We follow you.
Well, thank you so much. I actually just retweeted your broadcast, and I sent it to several support groups. So hopefully we can get you all more followers and more supporters, because, you know, let me tell you how it works. When you're running a campaign of any type, whether it's a Democratic campaign, a candidate campaign, a campaign based on a cause, the way you're able to make impact is being able to reach the masses. So if for no other reason to follow, to amplify, it's about taking our message of positivity, change. I like your shirt, Aaron, by the way, love, empathy, and just really being able to empathy, compassion, justice, kindness. That is who we are as a party. And being able to amplify that message will cut through all of the other negative that comes out of the other party. You know, the strongest force to overcome hate is love. And that's the first thing that's on your shirt. So our message is about inclusivity. It's about bringing the people together and using our commonalities, like the things that really bind us together as a nation, as a platform to move forward from. And so that's why I focus a lot on the issues that impact everyone simultaneously.
Well, Alan, one of the things I'd like to put in the back of your mind is healthcare. And I know everybody talks about, oh, healthcare, we need healthcare. Think of it as like a 3-part stool. You have to have access. So it's got to be somewhere people are. You have to have providers, and it has to be low cost. And what my vision would be is, why don't you have a nurse practitioner in every school? Because kids go to school, their parents drop them off. Erin's been in the silly car line forever. Parents drop them off. Erin should be able to go see the nurse practitioner in the school for her headache or whatever, you know, hey, I need a mammogram scheduled. Here, no problem. Here's the script. Off you go. It should be accessible to where people are, because for so long, the picture of healthcare has been white, suburban, mobile. If you don't have a car, you can have the best healthcare on the planet because you can't get there. What difference does it make? If a physician or a nurse is a 3-hour drive and you have a car, but you don't have gas money, it doesn't matter. So there has to be some way to spread out the services to reach the people who need it the most. You know, you see these big events at, you know, stadiums where dentists and hygienists come in for the day and do dental work on poor people. They shouldn't have to drive 6 hours to a stadium to see a dentist. It should be something that's basic human rights.
Yeah, I absolutely like what you're saying. And as you were talking, I was thinking about the other day, I took my daughter, you probably saw the photo of me taking the picture of me doing her hair, and she had a picture. Well, right after she had her picture, she had to go to the pediatrician to get her flu shot. And what I saw a registered nurse who was working there that happened to be the same nurse who was at my school, who was a school's nurse when I was a kid. And
oh my gosh.
Let me say this. She looks like she hasn't changed a day. Like she looks the same way from when I was a child. And I told my daughter, I said, that was my nurse when I was your age. And so,
oh my goodness.
It makes sense to have nurses in every school because I remember getting sick, and I was one of those students who never missed a day of school from kindergarten to college. But I remember being sick in school one day, and I went to the nurse's station, and she was able to check my temperature and do all of the things that she needed to do to find out what was going on with me. And she basically sent me to a room, let me lie down for however long I needed. And after I felt better, I went back to class. But, it was just a beautiful moment, because I know we don't have that in every school. And it would be so much better for that to be the case. But that also means that we need to make the necessary investments, not only in healthcare, but also in education, so that could be a reality for every school. I believe in a universal healthcare system. Out of all of the developed nations in the world, and there are 33 of them that have some form of a universal healthcare system, we're the only ones that don't. And it's sad, because we are the greatest country in the history of the world with the most resources, and we can't seem to figure it out in Congress. And I know why we can't. One of the reasons we can't is because we're constantly getting into the debate about how do we pay for it. Even before we acknowledge the fact that every American deserves health care. After talking to Canadians and people from around the world who have that system, it's not even a thought. They don't even think about the cost. It's just like a non-existent type of situation where you automatically know you're covered, whether you're in the country or out of the country, you're covered. And that would take away so much stress off of Americans. I happen to know someone right now who had to go to the hospital and turn down certain services because they didn't want to incur the cost. And it's really sad that we live in the greatest nation in the world. It's almost like what Dr. King said, that we live in an affluent society in the midst of all of this poverty, in an airtight cave of poverty. Poor people shouldn't have to be worried about going broke just to stay healthy. And so,
and I think too, one of the things when they're talking about, we have an excess of people who are unemployed, but there are more jobs, and why aren't they going? Well, they're not going back to their piddly, $8 an hour job, because they need health care, they need childcare, and their decision is, I'm going to stay home and go online and learn a new skill or go back to school. I'm not going to go someplace where I don't get benefits. And you look at other societies. I mean, you go to Europe and you don't tip anybody in Europe unless you want to, because they get a living wage. They have benefits. And, we don't do that. And it's just a shame.
Yeah, a universal basic income and universal health care would have been really good during this pandemic, especially with millions of people out of work, millions of businesses closing their doors, people losing, family members who are part of their household income. We were really in a really bad state with this pandemic, and universal basic income would have helped millions of families. I was just talking to a lady yesterday about pushing for a universal basic income. She said, won't that hurt businesses? I said, it won't hurt anybody. I said, in fact, a lot of the businesses or the business owners could actually use universal basic income to help them get through some of these tough months in the business community. But I think we should have something like that, because even if it doesn't end poverty, it would be a very strong step in the right direction to ending poverty. And so, again, how do we pay for it? I have several ideas on how we can pay for something like that. And it's ideas that don't get us bogged down into the philosophical, political, ideological debate that we continue to have year in and year out, and not allow policy to move forward. You have some who want to raise taxes on the rich. You have some who want to cut spending on existing programs to make room for new programs. But those two concepts is exactly what is allowing those who can make the laws continue to debate and not move things forward. And who ends up suffering in the process is all of us. And so if we start looking at new revenue generators to make these progressive policies sustainable, workable, doable, then we have to look outside of what politicians continue to look at. We have to look at things like making it legal for Americans to have access to cannabis. Like, let's legalize cannabis across the nation. That would literally free up or generate $132 billion in tax revenue. Those funds could be used to not only pay for higher education.
I see what you did there.
You like that, don't you? That's what I do. So it pays for higher education, but also it could pay for something like a universal basic income. For every cell phone in America, I am sure that those cell phones have some type of app, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Those apps, when you give them permissions, they are literally taking your privacy data, permission to your microphone, permission to your photos. They're taking your privacy data and they're selling it. If we were to start taxing the sale of our privacy data, we could generate enough revenue to pay for things like universal health care, universal basic income, free college tuition, all of the progressive things. But we have to have leaders who are skilled enough, leaders who care enough, and leaders who are progressive enough to come up with creative, out-of-the-box revenue generators to be able to pay for these programs, because nothing that I said will actually hurt any individual. Raising taxes on people, you're going to hurt somebody because somebody's going to have to give up something that they don't want. Cutting existing programs is going to hurt people who depend on those programs. Nothing that I said is going to hurt any American, but it will help millions of Americans. It will make direct impact for millions of Americans. Positive impact.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. I never even thought about that.
I see a philosophical comment here about from the other side saying, why do we want to help people? We want to keep our money. We don't want to help anybody.
Yeah, they got to do it on their own. Like, I did it on my own, so why should I help them?
Yeah, I don't know. If you're saying that you're a Christian and part of it is to help others, maybe that's what you should do.
Right. Maybe you need to rethink your life there if you're not willing to help other people.
Well, Ellen, when are you coming over to this side of the state?
I've been over there so many times. I just need to let you know when I come back again.
Yes. We need to know when you're coming back for a fundraiser so we can go.
Well, you want to hold one for me?
My house is really small.
We can have it at a cafe or something like that.
We'll talk offline. I think that might be helpful.
Okay. I want to address the gentleman's question about why do we help people? Well, not everyone helps people. For some people, like myself, this is my gift. This is what I was put on this earth to do, is help. It's my calling. It's my purpose. My purpose is tied directly to that gift. If I'm not helping people, I don't even feel good about myself. So I have to be helping people all the time. But I want to say this. The American government is set up twofold, really. And it is the very thing that creates the party system. Whenever we came out of the American Revolution, whenever we won our independence, we were already taking up tax revenue to pay for the war effort. But when the war was over and we became the victors in the war, after the war, a lot of people in Congress said, you know what? We've been taking up all of this tax revenue to pay for the war effort. Now that the war is over, we should actually take some of this money and put back into programs to help the people, to benefit the people. And then some people in the government said that we should continue to put money into defense because we could end up in a future situation, a future war. So let's continue to build our defense. And so that is the two sides of government, or the two functions of government that really dictate and explain the concept of serving and protecting. So if you believe that we should take the majority of our tax revenue and put towards programs that help people, like what we call the entitlements or social programs, then that makes you a liberal. If you believe that we should take the majority of that tax revenue and put it towards defense, then that makes you more of a fiscal conservative. If you believe that we should have both, then that really what makes you a moderate. So I believe that we do need both. We do need to have a strong defense. But the problem with defense spending is we are already spending more money than every country in the world with the military combined. And if we were to cut our defense budget in half, we would still be spending more money than every country in the world with the military combined. The problem with our military, or not military, the problem with our defense spending is that the majority of our defense spending is going to for-profit defense contracting firms who make up less than 1,000 individuals who are getting the lion's share of our defense budget. Whereas military soldiers, military families, veterans, they're getting peanuts out of the deal. So I would rather see us cut our defense budget in half, put more money towards families, soldiers, veterans, and take a portion of that money and put towards social programs so that we can make those a little bit more sustainable. Programs like, Social Security, welfare, even putting money towards, subsidies for farming and agriculture, because right now, I don't know if you all are aware of this, but we're having a real problem with food shortages in the United States. And it's only going to get worse, especially with global warming. If the earth continues to get hotter, and if it just gets hotter by 2.7 degrees, it is a situation where current food crops won't be able to survive in heat with just 2 degrees higher. So between the heat waves and the lack of food production because of global warming, we could actually see almost 200 million people die in the next 20 years simply because of where we are putting our resources. We need to put more resources toward greener technologies. We need to put more resources towards helping people to get them healthy, to get them smarter. Because if people are healthy and if they're smarter, then they can help do their part to make sure that we are, being as strong and vibrant and healthy of a country as we can. So it has a way of circling all the way back. When you're helping someone else, you're really helping yourself. You can't receive anything with your hand closed. You can only receive something with your hand open as if you are given. So if you're in a given position, you're also in a receiving position. And so it's just a matter of, perspective and how we look at one another. And I always say we have more in common than we realize. It's just a matter of who is going to take the time to have the conversation, to be able to find out just how much we have in common and how we can work together to strengthen our economy, to strengthen our democracy, because it's under attack. There's so much that we need to do. And I don't mean to take up all of the time on your show. But
one of the things that came out today when you were talking about the environment, they're doing the Build Back Better. They're trying to get this bill passed, and it's the two Democrats who are putting a monkey wrench in them. So there's one part of the bill, I'm reading it right now, which would be to expand the ability to companies to rapidly decrease the amount of carbon that they put out. Where was it? Clean energy, to transition to clean energy sources. And they're doing that now. There's a government program that allows them to do that now, but this would increase the funding to that program. So instead of doing it in 10 years, they could do it at 5 years. And Manchin said, no, take that out. If they're already doing it, we don't need to put it back in there. And your whole point about cooling the earth, he didn't get that piece. And it baffled me when he said that, we don't need to do that. And the other thing he wanted to kick out was child tax credits. Why? People don't need a credit for their kid, and West Virginia was right behind, I think it's Mitch McConnell's state of Kentucky, with some of the poorest outcomes for children and for pregnancy. Absolutely. So we want you in the Senate. We want you to go there and do a good job and, clean up some of the messes there.
It's interesting because this is why I support For the People Act, because there's a provision in For the People Act that takes money out of politics. And oftentimes, whenever you have senators, representatives who vote certain ways on policy, who hold back on their votes and things of that nature, if you just follow their money, where they're getting their money from, sometimes votes that could benefit the people don't always benefit their donors. And right. So if you have a ton of energy, carbon-based energy donors, then you're probably not going to support green technology investments because it hurts your carbon-based energy donors. So just follow the money, and you can do that at the FEC. You can do that with organizations that pull that data. And once you start following the money, you're going to start seeing why certain individuals vote certain ways. Like, for example, you're going to see people who won't vote for universal health care because they're getting paid by insurance companies, or they're getting thousands of dollars from insurance companies. So as you asked me earlier, how is fundraising going? Well, it's not going as good as some of my opponents who are getting tons and tons of money from special interests. But one of the reasons I don't accept that, because I learned in political science school that if you continue to take money from special interest groups, oftentimes those special interests conflict with what you should be doing for the people. And so I want to be a candidate of the people. I want to make policy that directly impacts the people. It would be very difficult to do that if I'm bought and paid off by special interest groups.
Yeah,
well,
definitely.
We will talk offline about an event out here in Tampa. And we are, again, thank you for coming on.
I have one more question, though. I'm
going to charge you for that.
I've been waiting. So you talked about military supporting them and everything, and we are a military family. I don't live in Florida anymore, and I don't vote in Florida, but I kind of wish that I do so that I could vote for you. But that being said, you talk about military and supporting them, and in my own experience, I've noticed a lot of people say things like that. And they mean well, but then they don't actually do anything to support the military and or their families. So I would like to ask you, what do you do personally that supports military? Do you get involved with organizations? Do you go, I don't know. What do you do personally that supports the military and their family? Because Florida is a big military state. There's several bases throughout the geographical locations. So, these are your people.
Yeah. First of all, Erin, thank you so much for pointing out that people say one thing and then they get in office and then you don't hear anything else from them. It's one of the things that I teach whenever I'm on the campaign trail, to not just listen to the promises that candidates make about what they're going to do. Because at the end of the day, every candidate is only one vote, one voice. And if you're in the Senate, you have 99 other senators who have to see things your way. If you're in the House, you have 434 House of Representative members outside of yourself that you have to get to see things your way. So what I try not to do is I try not to make promises, because making campaign promises sets you up for the prospect of perceived failure when you're in the United States Congress, because you still have to get a majority of those members to vote your way in order for your promises to have any validity with the people. So I don't make promises, but what I do is I teach people, and I try to do this, and that is to work on things now that I want to be able to do then or later. Okay. So a gentleman came to me, he was a veteran, and he told me that there are 22 military veterans dying every day by suicide. And so he put together a proposal, and it's a very simple proposal that changes the discharge process to do a screening and to provide mental health resources for soldiers who have done so many tour duties, to get the services and the help that they need so that they don't come out and end up dying by suicide. This proposal he took to 80 members of Congress for consideration to become a law to help end veteran suicide. Out of the 80 that he took it to, 40 of them were veterans themselves. And none of them have taken this bill or this proposal to try and make this become a bill to help end veteran suicide. So he brought this to me and he asked me, he told me all of this, and he said, will you champion this issue? And I said, I most definitely will, because I believe in supporting those who have supported us. Veterans have been there, done that, and helped us to continue living the freedom and living the way that we want to live and enjoying the freedoms that we enjoy. So of course, it was a no-brainer for me. So what I told him is that one of the reasons he didn't get any type of support in Congress is because he went as an individual. And I said, anytime you go to a member of Congress as an individual, you are always going to be overlooked because they don't see the weight and the value some should be able to see the sheer numbers of how many people are dying as enough push to get them to want to write policy. But that's another thing. Not every one of them know how to write policy. A lot of times they get aides and staffers to do it for them. But that's the benefit of having a political scientist who can take that and convert it into policy. So what I've done is I have created a petition to build a coalition around ending veteran suicide. I campaign on it. I have held town halls on it. I speak about it on every publication, every radio interview, every podcast that I can, to continue raising awareness and building a coalition around this issue. And not only that, it is on my website, and it is a key piece of legislation that when I am in the Senate, I will directly put on the floor for a vote consideration to become a law so that we can help end. It would be better if we can have someone in Congress to do that now. But we've been pushing for it. None of them are taking it as serious as I would like to see. So that's one of the reasons that I'm running for the U.S. Senate, is so that I can introduce legislation that will have direct positive impact on not only military soldiers, but their families and people in general. And most of the policies that I support are policies that we don't see very much movement from members who are currently in the United States Congress. Another one like that is the fact that women are still being paid less than men for the same work. It's been illegal since 1963, but the bill doesn't have teeth to enforce it. I want to write a bill that will literally enforce employers to pay women what they're supposed to be paying women. And when we find out that there are violations that are still going on 50 plus years later, then we want to go back 50 years and get back pay for all of the women who have been paid less. And that will have direct impact for millions of women and millions of families across the country. And I'm the only candidate running for the United States Senate in the state of Florida, at least, that's pushing for something like this.
Well, you gave us a lot to talk about.
You did, for sure. Yes. No, that is great. And definitely something that's needed sooner rather than later, for sure, like you said. And that is very unfortunate that they're not taking it seriously, because it's just, I'm not an emotional person, but that might just get me going. So let's not do that. Anyway.
Ellen, thank you. It's been a pleasure again. We'll have you back on again. We love having you.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you.
Let me know before you come to Tampa so we can plan something.
Okay. We can do something as a matter of fact, I have a town hall coming up with Jesse Felipe, and we're going to be talking about some of the issues that Tampa residents are dealing with, like the Piney Point.
Oh, Piney Point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're gonna have some good discussion, and we're gonna take questions from the audience, and I'll be sure to let you all know.
Thank you.
Town hall. I think it's gonna be this month, actually. Yeah.
Good.
All right. Good. Excellent. Thank you again.
Thanks. Have a good night. Yay.
Sorry. I'm used to you guys. I'm better at behind the scenes with that part.
Anyways. Like, here, oh, bye.
See you later. Like, click. At least I didn't accidentally boot him out like I did that one time. I don't remember who it was, and my finger slipped and I hit the button to end the show, and you guys were in the middle of a sentence.
And we've just left.
We just left.
Aaron, thanks for doing double duty tonight. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm glad I was able to do it, and I hope Melinda feels better. And
head out to Tutti Frutti and Burke and go get some frozen yogurt.
I have ice cream in my freezer. I'm going to go get that instead.
Ooh.
I've been waiting all day to have it. So, all right. Who do we have next week? Anyone?
I have no idea.
we might be off next week. Who knows?
We'll post it.
We'll just shoot the breeze. Maybe Anna and Sheila will just show up and just chat about stuff.
Oh, God. That'd be fun.
It would be fun. You guys haven't done that in a while. So,
I know.
All right. We'll see you.
Thanks.
We got to Ruth, even though my thing is empty.
To Ruth. We miss you.